Hi everybody, welcome to another Taubmans live colour event. My name is Fiona, I'm the Taubmans colour specialist, and we are here tonight to answer all of your frequently asked questions. Now, as we do with all of our sessions, this is an opportunity for you to have a voice, ask any questions about any projects that you're embarking on, whether you'd like some assistance with colour, as I said, projects, or perhaps you'd like to know some information about our wonderful portfolio of products that we have available to beautify your space. So the way this works is for the next half an hour I will be on screen answering your questions, etc. And you can certainly, as we go through, pop any questions that you do have into the feed. However, we are unfortunately unable to answer or view any photos that you may pop up while we're streaming. So if you can hold off until we finish streaming, so as I said, half an hour, then put your photos into the feed, and then I'll certainly be sitting back after this behind the scenes answering lots of questions regarding colour, etc, etc. So look, it's great to be back. We were away on conference last week, and we have some fantastic things happening in the next few months, which as we go through the sessions will certainly bring to life. So I've got quite a few questions in front of me, so I'm going to start. I'm going to start this evening something that seems to be a reoccurring question, and it's all around the feature wall. So we've been asked, are feature walls outdated, or are they back on trend? So look, feature walls seem to be a very popular way of injecting colour into a space. Now, I know we talk about committing to colour, and these sessions are designed to give you confidence with colour, and we certainly want to, and it's a word that I love to use, empower you with all things colour. And look, to do that, certainly for you out there, if you're a little bit uncertain about, committing to painting a whole room, if you like, with a particular colour, a feature wall is certainly a way to start. So look, to answer, look, they're very much a safe way to inject some colour to your space. And look, it's also a great way if you're wanting to update your space and you've gone out and you've bought yourself some new cushions, etc., accessories. Certainly, it's a great way to match a wall to those. So I guess when we're looking, we've got our first question tonight. I'll answer that in a moment. When we're looking to do a feature wall, I'm going to give you a little bit of, let's say, a little bit of science to colour, if you like. So colour can be used to define a space, create a space, and you can use colour, if you like, to change or distort a space. So you can create an illusion of more space by using, I guess you could say, I'll go through this. Warm colours advance. So warm colours will make a wall or a space appear to come forward, and cooler colours tend to recede. So if you have a small space and you're wanting to make your room feel bigger, certainly use a cool colour. And quite the opposite, if you have a rather large space and you're wanting to make that space feel cozier, etc., this is where you could use a warm colour. So I'm going to quickly pop you onto my screen and show you. I've drawn up a very basic elevation, and I've popped a cool colour on one wall and a warm colour just to show you the difference. So we will go to the laptop. I'll pop myself up in the corner. Hopefully it works. Awesome, it has. Okay, so here I have two feature walls, if you like, two fantastic colours that have come from our Chromatic Joy collection, which I'll show you where you can find all of that. And the green is called Early Leaf, and the orange is called Shadows Deep. I think they are certainly a couple of most beautiful tones, beautiful colours. But as you can see, and I can see it happening here, that green is tending to recede and that orange is tending to want to advance. It's an illusion, but it's something that you can do with colour within your space. So that's something to think about. Now, the next question, and I'm going to come back onto the screen. Okay, I'm back. Okay, hi Darren, how are you? Thank you very much for joining us. Your question is, I hear you love Taubmans Endure, and I really do love Taubmans Endure. Now, I do have a question here, so I will take you through that. And it's going to, you'll see, Darren, that it really will tie in with my love of Taubmans Endure, and I'll tell you why. So I have a question here that has popped up, and I thought this is a really good question and quite an opportune time, if you like, to bring it to life. And so I met with a lovely lady and she said, we have just purchased our first home and want to know what the best paint to use is. And of course I'm going to say Taubmans Endure. How do I know what to use where? And we live in a place where we have very high humidity and mold. It's a small house, so we want to keep it as light and open as possible. Okay, so lots of questions here, lots of things to consider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you back to my screen, which I'll just quickly take you to a space that I have drawn up for this. And oops, let's go to the laptop. Put myself in the corner. Okay, so basically basic elevation again. I have purposely not put any furnishings etc. in it so that we can go through this. So when you are doing your space or when you are painting your space, it's really important to understand that different finishes or different paints, I guess, are fit for purpose. So when you're doing a ceiling, I'm always going to recommend Taubmans Endure One Coat. And when you do a ceiling, it's generally, let's have a look here. It's generally, as you can see my cursor here, it's the ceiling and the cornice that you're going to do. And it's a very flat finish and it is designed to hide any imperfections. So if you've got ceilings that may be a little bit, that may have some imperfections, this is certainly the way, and it's going to stop glancing light, etc. So that is why your ceilings are done in a flat. Taubmans Endure One Coat is a fantastic product. It has all of your mold inhibitors, etc., in it, and I'll go through that in a moment. Then we come down to the walls. Now the walls, generally most people opt for a low sheen. You can certainly use a low sheen, or you can even go for a matte. And again, a matte, if you've got, let's say for example, you've got a hallway where you've got a lot of imperfections, you're going to be looking down that hallway and you can certainly see those walls. A matte again is going to hide a lot of imperfections. So you could use a low sheen or a matte. Again, a Taubmans Endure, this is a broad wall. And then we go into our doors and trims. As we can see here, we've got a door, we've got some trims, and then obviously trims around your windows as well. Now, I particularly love our Taubmans water-based enamel. It has fantastic self-leveling properties, but it also has mold inhibitors in it as well. And the beauty of this product is it's non-yellowing, so it's going to stay beautiful, bright and white. And I guess that becomes quite apparent when people are wanting to have white doors and trims. So now that we've had a quick look at this, I'll take you to where you can actually find some information about this. So we'll come back on screen for a moment and we'll minimize this. We'll go onto our web. So let's bring this up. So we have a fantastic website here, taubmans.com.au, and it's designed to navigate around very, very easily. Whether you're looking for colour products, etc., everything's here. This is sort of like your one-stop shop, so to speak. So as I'm talking about products, I just want to show you how easy it is. So if you are like this lovely lady that I was talking to, who is purchasing her first home and is wanting to understand, the different types of paints, the categories and what you're using where, etc., this is a great place to start. So as you can see, when I hit the products drop down, it brings me to prep paints, exterior paints, interior, doors and trims, ceiling paints. So as you can understand, we've talked about ceilings. So I'll just come on to this. And here's our Taubmans Endure One Coat ceiling paint. Fantastic, been endorsed by Sensitive Choice. So if you do have anybody that is allergic to, or the allergies, I should say, or suffers from allergies, asthma, etc., this is the way to go. So Sensitive Choice endorsed by the Asthma and Allergy Council. So fantastic. It also contains Nanoguard technology. So Nanoguard technology, when we talk about that, when you put a standard paint film under a microscope, it has a one-size paint particle. That's a general paint film. With Endure, it has a one-size paint particle, then it has a smaller paint particle that fills the airspace, creates an interlocking molecular structure. Coupled with that, you also have, bacteria shield. So that's all of your mold inhibitors, everything. So everything is inbuilt into the paint. So that's your one coat ceiling. And then we go to our interior paints, which I'll take you to here. Taubmans Endure Interior. So this is your low sheen. As I said, it does come in a low sheen or a matte, depending on the project or depending on the finish that you prefer. Again, it's got your Nanoguard technology. It's got all of your inbuilt mold inhibitors because obviously with everything that's going on at the moment, mold does tend to be quite an issue. So this is a product that's going to help, if you like, once you get rid of your mold, this is going to help to prevent mold. Okay, so there is another product that I do want to touch on as well, and then I'll take you into a prep product. I've probably done things a little bit back to front, but there's something else I want to talk about why we're talking about mold, and there is a question there as well talking about mold. So let's have a look here. Doors and trims paint. So now that you've used a sealing paint, which is a flat, as I said, which will hide any imperfections, and then we've gone down to our broad wall, being a low sheen or a matte, depending on the finish that you prefer. Then we come to our doors and trims. So doors and trims here, this is a particular product that I love, which is our water-based enamel, available in a low sheen, a semi-gloss or a gloss finish. And I'll just get that up again. Yet again, endorsed by Sensitive Choice, inhibits mold and mildew, very low VOC, so they're the volatile organic compounds that are admitted into the air as your paint dries, and also it has a non-yellowing formula. So when we talk about non-yellowing, and one of the questions here was, it's a small house, so we want to keep it as light and open as possible. So one way to do that, and I'll come back on the screen, one way to keep it as light and open as possible, when you do have a small home, you can do, if you like, one colour up and over, and I'm talking about using a light white to do this. So you could do the same soft white on your ceilings, on your walls and your doors and trims, but as I've just explained, using a different product so that your product is fit for purpose. So, and again, going back to the water-based enamel, talking about it being non-yellowing. So if you're going to do something like this, you really want your trims, etc., to stay true to colour. And this is where a water-based enamel is going to do that for you. So I will take you back to the image that I had before, because I just want to talk you through this again, just to quickly show you. Right, back. So that was showing you where the different products sit within this space. Showing you another thing that you can do with colour, which seems, a lot of people seem to be doing this at the moment, especially if you've got a small space too. It's just keeping your walls really light, but then adding colour on your doors and trims, which seems to be coming back into vogue, and it can work really, really well. And as I was saying before, if you've got a small space and you're wanting to keep it really light and open, using that one colour up and over, because when you use colour on a space, your eye tends to look up the wall, basically where the colour meets the ceiling is where your eye is drawn to, and then, you know, subconsciously you're standing there sizing up the space. But when the space is one colour, the eye just sort of looks up and over. So again, it's an illusion that you can do with colour, and it works really, really well. Okay, so I will come back onto the screen. So to answer your, Darren, going back to my love of Taubmans Endure, I think it is a fantastic product. It ticks so many boxes, especially when we're talking about, you know, being very low VOC. It inhibits mold and mildew, which I think is really, really important, and it's inbuilt into the paint. It's not, you know, an additive that you buy separately. And the fact that it has the Nanoguard technology, which basically allows you to be able to scrub the paint without it burnishing. Now, burnishing is, you know, you might have a painted surface where you've given a really good scrub, and once it's dried, you stand back and it's all shiny. So with your Taubmans Endure, you're certainly not going to get that. So yes, I do have a love of Taubmans Endure. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is when we talk about painting, we're going to embark on a project here. And going back to this question here, having mold. Mold is something that at this point in time seems to be quite prevalent. You know, if you're watching the news where we've had floods, etc., it's certainly an issue. Now, there is a product called Mold Action. It's a biodegradable product. You sort of open it up. It doesn't smell. There's no bleach smell or anything like that to it. And the fantastic thing is you can spray it on, you leave it for 24 hours, and then you can wipe off or wash off, and it's going to actually remove the mold that is inbuilt, because once you see the black, if you like, you see mold, you see that black flower, that's the spore flowering. So you really want to get right down in and remove or kill the mold spore, and this is what mold action will do. So certainly well worth having a look at that product. Now I do have some questions here. Okay, hi Kathy, thank you very much for joining our session tonight. I'm looking to paint my ensuite and master bedroom cotton ball, but I don't want the ceiling to look darker than the walls. Can you advise what the best colour is for the ceiling to match in with cotton ball, please? Cotton ball is a beautiful light tone, and I'll just pop this up on my screen and then I'll share it. Let's have a look here. Just bear with me one moment. Sorry, just while we open it up and I can... Okay. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, so there's cotton ball. Cotton ball is a beautiful soft white. It's a very popular colour. Now, if you're wanting to have your ceilings, let me go again. I don't want the ceilings to look darker than the walls. The other colour that you could use is Taubman's Brilliant White. So I do have a tip here. Our Brilliant White, if you like, is our straight white that exists within the can. It's beautiful. What makes white paint really white is the amount of titanium dioxide that is in that. And I can tell you that when we're talking about our Taubman's Endure One Coat, etc., it's full of that goodness. And Brilliant White would certainly be a colour that's going to sit really well with your cotton ball. So I would have a look at that, Kathy, and I think you'll find that that's going to work really well for what you're after. Okay. Okay, hi Jessica, thank you very much for joining our session tonight. Sorry, I'm reading and thinking here at the same time. So can I please ask, how does Taubman's approach trending colour forecasting for upcoming seasonal colours? So I can tell you that, and I'll take you straight to our, I'm on our web now. Let's have a look here. So here we go here. So again, back to taubmans.com.au. If you have a look at the colours and then you go to 2021. So this is actually our 2021 to 2022 colour trends. It's actually called Chromatic Joy. Now these were all developed in-house by our chief colorsmith. And you can see here they're the most beautiful, beautiful colours. Now if you want to, Jessica, I would suggest going onto the website here, going onto Chromatic Joy and having a read about how all of these colours were developed. So they were developed utilising a fantastic tool that we have called Colorsmith. And Colorsmith is, it's an amazing tool that you link to an app, and it gives you the ability to create your own beautiful bespoke colours. And so the Chromatic Joy was created via Colorsmith, or with our Colorsmith tool. And if you go online and have a read, you can certainly read about all the beautiful stories, etc., where the colours have evolved. And as I go down here, you can see here on screen here, there's some fantastic interviews. I don't have the time here to sit here and read all of them out to you, but it's certainly well worth having a look, because the colours that have been created are fantastic. And that's something to be really mindful of. I guess, colour is such a constant, and colour is very personal, and colour has the ability to, and I say this every session, to evoke an emotion and make you feel amazing. And I'm a big believer of sort of surrounding yourself with colours that do that, because you study the science of colour, the psychology of colour, physiology of colour, and you can see what it does to you as a person. And have a read through the Chromatic Joy here, and you'll learn a little bit more. So I do have okay, and I hope that I'm saying your name correctly. If I'm not, I apologise in advance, because I'm looking at a very small screen here. Suno Sebastian, thank you very much for joining our session tonight. So your question is, hi, can you recommend a white paint colour for our new house exterior? Don't want too whitish look. Thank you. So talking about whites, and you'll hear me talk about this, you know, when somebody's asking about whites for exteriors, the one thing that is really, really important is to make sure that your white has, let's say, enough body or enough tint in it, so that, especially if you've got, you know, you live in an area where you've got a lot of natural sun or north facing, etc., you want to make sure that the white is going to hold its own, and you're not going to get too much glare, because there's nothing worse than going outside and having to put on sunglasses to be able to sit outside and have a cup of tea because it's too much. So I guess one way you can look at it, and when you talk about when you look at colours, all colours have what we call an LRV, which is the light reflectance value. So you can certainly look at things like that. And I look at colours that can be anywhere from 70 plus. And when you delve into that, you can sort of understand that that colour is going to have enough tint in it to withstand, you know, the sun beating down, etc., etc. But there are some beautiful, beautiful whites. And I'm going to take you back onto screen again. Oops, helps if I pop the laptop on, doesn't it? Okay, again, we are back to taubmans.com.au, and we are looking at colours. And if you click on paint colours, it will bring you up to this. And the fantastic thing is all of the colours have been, you know, categorised into their families, if you like. And so if you're looking at whites or you're looking at greys and blacks, etc., you can just sort of visit them by family and navigate your way around. So the starting point for anybody out there that's not too sure about where to start and what's going to be, you know, a fantastic white or neutral, it will give you what our most popular whites and neutral colours are at the top there. And you'll see crisp white and cotton sheets being a couple of our most popular whites. I do favour crisp white. I think it's a fantastic, versatile, beautiful white. I love it so much I have it in my house. But as you hop down, you can see different colours here, etc., etc. And so looking at sort of these tones here, going into an aspen snow, it sort of has a neutral undertone, so it's not going to throw too much blue or be too cool or throw too much violet, because obviously depending on the tints that make up the colour depends on what's going to happen when the colour is within its environment. And obviously when we talk about whites, they do tend to take on what's happening with their surround. So that's something to be mindful of. And that's why I always say when you are selecting a white, whether it be for external purposes or interior purposes, get yourself a sample pot, get yourself a large piece of cardboard. Roughly 1 metre by 1 metre square is generally a really good size to work with. I always say to brush out 3 coats of the colour onto the cardboard and move that cardboard around the room, different times of day, under natural light, artificial light, etc. And the same applies for outside. Pop it around outside and see how it's going to work within the environment, and especially talking about where you're getting a lot of sun, putting it into direct sun so that you can see how it's going to play within its environment. So some of the most beautiful whites that we start to look at here. Now there is a particular white, depending on, look, there's lots of whites, and you're looking at these now and you're probably thinking, oh, they've got too much tint. But when you brush it out and you put it outside, it doesn't have as much tint as what it looks like here. So straw and grey is a fantastic white for exterior purposes. High reaches is another fantastic colour. Gazebo white, I'm just looking as we go down here, and there's another colour called South Pole, which is a beautiful white, which has a little bit of complexity to it. It's I guess you could say it sits within the neutral realms. And when I talk about colours having a neutral undertone, they tend to have a little bit of a soft green undertone, and a neutral tone, whether we start working with greys, whites, etc. Very versatile. They work extremely well in many environments, and they work extremely well with a lot of other colours. So it's always a really, really good place to start. So what I'm going to do is, if we continue down here, we'll go back up and we will go to, let me just have a look. Let's hope I can find it without navigating myself around too much here. I did this last week. You think that I would know what I'm doing by now, but that's okay. Maybe it's paint colours, and we'll scroll down to the bottom. Yes. So you can go down here to where it says watercolour swatches. We'll click on that. And this is a great place to start. And this is where you can find out some information about a colour that you might be thinking about. And especially when I was talking about the LRV, the light reflectance value. So I'm going to type in here South Pole. And South Pole is here. View colour details. You can see here it is a beautiful colour. It has a light reflectance value of 78, which I think is going to work in an exterior environment really well. It has enough complexity or enough body, if you like, to withstand sun, etc., as in the glare factor. And this would be a colour that I would suggest you have a look at to start off with. Let me just see. Yeah, so you don't want it as too whitish. So this is something certainly to have a look at. Definitely have a look at South Pole. I'll send you that way. And when I'm off screen, I'll pop that into the feed, into your question with a link so that you can have a view yourself. Okay. All right, another question that we have here from Megan. Hi, Megan. Thank you very much for joining our session. So it says you're looking for colour ideas for a coastal weatherboard house, white trims and subtle grey or beige tones for the weatherboards. So when I think of weatherboards, white trims, there is a beautiful colour, and I'm going to take you straight to that. And let me just hop out of that. And actually, there's a beautiful colour called Oyster Bar. Now this is a subtle grey that works extremely well in a coastal environment. It is beautiful, and given the fact that you're going to have white trims, etc., it is fantastic. If you're wanting something that has perhaps more of a beige tone or even a greyish, so you know, that grey brown sort of undertone, we could have a look at, we'll just go back to our paint colours up here, and I'll take you to greys and blacks. So there's Oyster Bar, which was one of the colours. So let's go down and let's have a look and see if our neutral tones are going to go just a little bit. I was hoping to see whether, no, we'll go back to where we were. There's a colour called Pebble Bay, which is a beautiful, it's a greyish, so it has that grey brown undertone, and if you're marrying that together with a white trim, it is beautiful. And I will pop that into your I will pop a link to that into your question once we stop streaming. I'll just might go back to where we were here and see if I can get that up on screen for you. Here we go. It's going to come up. Oops, user error. That's a colour there that teamed, as I'm saying, Pebble Bay teamed with white. Looks sensational. And you know, you could even add, if you're wanting to use something like that, you could certainly inject a little bit of colour to a front door, and something like that, you could introduce a beautiful teal, whether you go quite strong or whether you go quite soft. Would work really, really well. And when we finish streaming, which will be in a moment, I'll pop some colours in there, because I'm thinking of something like, oops, perhaps if I know what I'm doing, we'll go again. Okay, let's go. Something like Babbling Stream. Something like Babbling Stream with Pebble Bay and white trims would look stunning, and given that you're sort of a coastal weatherboard feel, it would look superb. So I'll pop those into the feed. Anyhow, I think that's I better come back on screen. That pretty much concludes our session for tonight. We've answered quite a few of your frequently asked questions, and looking at my feed there, I have quite a few more questions, so I will answer them once we stop streaming. Next week we have something very exciting happening, so stay tuned on to our Taubmans Facebook page for some updates and you'll see what's going to be happening. I don't want to give it all away now, and I certainly don't have the ability to have a poker face, so I won't say anything else. But what I will say is thank you very much, everybody out there, for joining our session again tonight. It's great to be back, and it's great to be having you sort of all join in and asking your questions. Certainly get some questions ready again for next week as we continue on with our live colour events. But until then, stay safe everybody, and as I always say, happy painting. Thanks very much for joining us. Bye.